The best cases and clients come from referrals. Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire, helping law firm owners grow their businesses and their wealth. I'm your host, Darren Wurz. In today's marketing environment, it's easy to get caught up in flashy digital tactics and massive ad spends. But what if the secret to growth lies in old school? If you're tired of chasing leads and are ready to build a referral-rich, values-driven practice, this episode is for you. Ben Glass is the founder of Ben Glass Law and Great Legal Marketing. With over 4 decades in practice, Ben is nationally recognized for building a law firm using personal relationships, storytelling, and abundance-driven strategies. All right, Ben, thanks for joining us today. We're glad to have you here.
It's going to be fun, Darren, as it always is when I get a chance to talk to you.
Absolutely. So let's kick it off with a big question. There's a lot of myths going around about marketing. There's a lot of different things people believe. Tell me, from your perspective, what's the biggest marketing myth that law firm owners need to ditch to stay competitive in today's world?
It's the old bromide, like, do good work and they will come. Like, we've heard that forever. So it doesn't matter what the media is or how much money is being spent. That's what young lawyers are taught and the profession teaches. So that's number one. Number two is, and it's a fight I have in my own firm, with respect to my youngins who help me with my marketing, is like this whole move to everything is digital. It's so easy. Like, we're going to do social media. We're going to do email newsletters. And I'm old school. I'm like personal relationships, boxes that get sent, things like that. So, for most lawyers in America, relationships matter deeply. And the more authentic you can make a relationship, and by that I mean, Darren, what can I do for you first? Like, how can I help you? It just beats this digital stuff. I get it. It looks easy. That's what everyone is selling. It's very hard to compete because there's guys and gals who could spend a ton more money than I can on digital marketing.
Right. I love that. Yeah. We can't forget about that personal connection, and we're going to talk a lot more about that. Before we dive any further, Ben, give us the quick story of how you got started in law and where you are today with your practice. And I emphasize quick because I know we could probably stay there all day.
I was a lucky one at 16. I thought I knew that I wanted to become a lawyer. I went to college to play soccer. That was my first love, and played soccer at William Mary, and then went to law school at George Mason when it literally got its full ABA accreditation like 2 months before I walked into it in the fall of 1980.
Oh, wow.
So did 3 years there, got a job locally, good firm, trial lawyer firm. Was able to be involved. The blessing was I was able to be involved in a lot of cases and to work with a lot of experienced lawyers because we were doing a lot of insurance defense work. And so I got to see and do a lot of stuff. 12 years, how hard could this be? Let's go start my own law firm. I had good cases, good results. I did that. I took my cases and left and did well until those cases ran out. And then I ran into the biggest problem, which is I didn't really know anything about business and I didn't really know anything about how to get cases. And so that's really the start of the journey and figuring out back in the day, marketing and advertising, which was Yellow Pages, basically.
Yeah.
How old I am. There's Yellow Pages, Darren. Kind of the dawn of the internet, the dawn of the use of the internet for lawyers. And went out and learned and improved the practice. The practice is now, I'm 42 years into the profession, 30 years into running Ben Glass Law. Got about 20 under roof, 5 or 6 in the Philippines. We've got a great reputation and a regional brand that's very strong. And boom, we learn stuff every single day, Darren. That's the thing. It's still very interesting work and very interesting journey.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. The world is constantly changing. Oh, what a great story. So many of us, I feel like my journey mirrors that somewhat, jumping into starting a business and then realizing what all that's involved, right? So let's talk about marketing, right? In today's world, you have kind of a different perspective on marketing and what can be effective. So, a lot of small firms, they don't have that big budget. What should they really look toward first? Let's say they don't have that massive budget. What are the key things they should prioritize?
20 years ago, I discovered Dan Kennedy, and Dan taught me, and he'll be speaking at our summit this fall. Like your list is the most important thing. Like, who are the people who know you, like you, and trust you, and what story can they tell about you? And the story, Darren, isn't necessarily best lawyer or lawyer who does this. The story is the story, the Ben story, like dad to nine, marathoner, CrossFit athlete, soccer referee, all those sort of things. And so even today, 42 years in, I still keep my personal, private Dream 100 list of lawyers. Lawyers and other people who I know send me cases, who I pay attention to them. They pay attention to me. And I am doing my very best, Darren, to make sure that every single month, something physical. It might be a newsletter. It's a letter or a report of what we're doing, or maybe a book I've seen, is landing on their desk. Oftentimes just a touch point. And I do that sort of, it's not outside of what we do for marketing in the firm, but it is, I would say this, it is in addition to all the great SEO work that we have done for us, all of the great sort of branding that we have done for us. We spend very little money on advertising per se at Ben Glass Law. We invest a lot in our team. We invest a lot in making the customer journey, the client journey extraordinary. But I still have my list, and people know where it is, but I'm making sure that my list is well taken care of.
Where did you get that idea of the Dream 100? I'm curious, because I read a similar idea in the book, How to Get a Meeting with Anybody by Stu Heinecke.
Yeah. Well, for me, that came from Russell Brunson and the ClickFunnels world. And his concept is, decide who you want to serve. In that case, it's decide who my great referral sources are, and let's go after them. So one of the things, so for those who don't know, my practice area is long-term disability insurance claims. A lot of those are under ERISA, so it gives us sort of a national footprint. And we know, for example, that Social Security disability attorneys, workers' comp attorneys have our future clients, right? They're serving them in one way, but many of them have our future clients. So it's very deliberately, Darren, researching to see who looks like, even if I don't know you, do you look like my avatar referral source? If true, great. I'm going to send you a letter, and a letter in the form of, we recently updated. It's like, there's two kinds of lawyers: those who take a case that I do and dabble in it, and those who refer them to us and get a check at the end of the day for that referral. So that's where I got the idea from, but the mindset part is physical, real, and as best we can monthly. So everyone gets our firm newsletter, so that's easy to fulfill. But I'm also looking, how can I touch those people? And I keep notes, very simple kind of spreadsheet, CRM. It's nothing fancy, but I do have behind my office desk a stack of note cards, and I've published a number of books, as you know, and so I'll oftentimes, because I know what books I've already sent you, and I'll say, oh, here's something new I haven't sent to Darren. Boom. So that's the thing. Now, problem is, it's work. You got to pay attention. It's not sexy either. It's not sexy at all, but it works.
It's not automated. You can't just click a button and it's done necessarily.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. But it's a good tactic. And so many, I've been hearing a lot about more of that, trying to have that personal connection with people. And I think that is the kind of thing that's really going to stand out as the world gets more and more digital and more AI focused, and physical mail, right? Like it's going to be hard to reach your inbox. It's going to be hard to reach you on the phone, but I know I can send you a package and it's going to make it to your desk.
100%. I mean, I have an executive assistant who's one of her main jobs is to make sure that the digital stuff, only the important digital stuff, reaches me. So there's that. You're right. The mailman, the mailwomen, like they don't bring their bags aren't as big anymore, right? So it is a way to show up, and for lawyers in particular, Darren, what we're looking for is again those lawyers who have our future cases or may get that call and who can send us 5 cases in a year,
Mhm.
and keeping track of that. So, and it's not to say we don't do other stuff, but we spend very little money on buying like digital advertising, or almost zero, because the leads we get both in the personal injury space, Darren, and the disability space, the leads we get from people we know are worth far more than the leads we get from a generic SEO work. They
Yeah.
find our website. So, probably half the leads come from like the whole digital world, but 80% of the money comes from the human being who mentioned our name. That's
Mm.
the beginning of the chain. But it
Yeah.
is work, and you got to spend some time doing it, and then being consistent with it.
So many people need to hear this. I was literally on a call with a client last month who's investing thousands of dollars a month in advertisements and getting like 600 leads a month, and then having to hire an intake team to process these leads, and then most of the leads are garbage and only like 3% of them are actually becoming clients. And it's like that just seems like, it seems easy, right? Digital marketing, but you can create more work for yourself.
Well, what your client needs to do is to accurately calculate the cost per case,
Yeah.
including the cost of some cost to the time it takes Mary to talk to them for 12 minutes a day or whatever that is, and your outsourced phone answerers who are answering at night perhaps, and get to that true cost. And only then can they tell, all right, yeah, actually this deal is good because I'm making more than I'm spending, a lot more than I'm
Yeah.
spending. But oftentimes they'll find like it's not worth it. And that's been our personal experience. And maybe we're just not very good at it. Um, but we're growing, and we spend a lot of time, energy, and money in curating our relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Earlier, you mentioned storytelling, and you mentioned your Ben's story, right?
Yeah.
How does that show up for you in your marketing, and what impacts has that made?
Two ways, Darren. I think one of them is every lawyer in the sort of PI space, right? It publishes the case results. I got a big verdict with a big number. We like to tell the story, and I'm going to give you a source, and your listeners a source. They should go read or go follow the Institute for Justice. So it's ij.org. They're a public interest law firm. They do a lot of cool work on behalf of entrepreneurs fighting against government regulation, stuff that you would love this stuff. Their
Okay.
storytelling, even when they lose a case, their storytelling is fabulous. I
Mm.
makes me want to write a check like every time I get their newsletter. And so prospects want to know, it doesn't tell them a lot if they visit 10 websites and you have $5 million verdict, $7 million verdict. That's not their case. But if they find stories that are
Mm.
about experience that are similar to theirs, boom. So there's that. And then there's the story of Ben. Most people, Darren, they do not need a personal injury lawyer. They do not need a disability lawyer today. Like most people don't, right? No reason to remember any personal injury lawyer. But the story of dad to nine, who you can call and trust if you have a legal problem. His Rolodex is big. He will help get you to the right person. He will oftentimes solve your problem because he's just been in the world for a long time and he's an old guy and he happens to know a lot of law and practical tips for living. Um, that is memorable.
Yeah.
And human nature is that if other people can tell that story, hey, I'm not really sure what Ben does, but he's really cool. He's at my gym. He referees soccer games. And I think you could just like call him. That's what we want because it grows my list. It grows our trust factor in the community. It's fun to do. And
Yeah.
lawyers, Darren, it's amazing how shy, like they'll put up these big giant billboards with their pictures on them. They're oftentimes shy about telling their story. Like what's your backstory? Like what's your family look like?
Yeah.
What are your relationships? And these are things that are memorable.
hmm hmm and it also humanizes you. It gives you it helps you relate to people, helps people relate to you, and all of that good stuff. Yeah.
Lawyers forget how scary we are because
Yeah.
because if you need a lawyer, it's probably the first time in your life. It probably is something happened unexpectedly. You got arrested,
Yeah.
your spouse cheats on you and you find out, right? You get hurt in a car accident. And we forget that we are very scary. And so the more we can do to reduce the friction there, to get someone to call you and we're calling a really happy place with a great customer service systems and people
Yeah.
who really believe the mission that we're on.
Well,
That
this
all
happens.
helps.
Yeah, this happens in the medical world. It's called white coat syndrome. People
Yeah.
are people often don't tell their doctors everything that their doctors need to know because they're afraid, they're intimidated. So I
Yes. Yeah.
imagine, yeah, with lawyers, probably the same phenomenon exists.
100%. Like, because if you just go on TV, like we're big and bad, and we cheat, and we lie, and we steal, and that's the mantra, right? So we want to be the ones that people walk into our office and they go, and you've been in our offices, like, wow, what is this place really like?
Yeah,
It doesn't look like a law office.
yeah, very cool. So one of the things that Ben, you're known for is your abundance mindset, and you mentioned this a little bit in your referral approach is to send something, send a book, so you're giving value to your potential referral sources. So I just want to talk about that for a minute. How does giving value without expectation help your business to grow?
Well, first, it's fun to do. When you have been in the world a long time and know a lot of things, there's just a lot of people that haven't had your experiences. So it is, for me, Darren, it is fun to lead someone to discovery. So if you and I were having a question just about building your own business, and I said something that sparked an idea for you, and you go, "Oh wow, that's cool. Let me go do these three things."
Mm,
That's fun for me. The other is it helps you stand out
yeah,
because so few people are actually engaged in anything outside of themselves that you stand out. And it can be the simplest thing. I run this program in our area. Well, it's national. It's called Lunch with Ben. Lunchwithben.com. Go to it. Your listeners can go and read it. You can get an hour with me at lunch over video. And the cost is you're just going to make sure the sandwich or the salad shows up at my desk before we start. So I'm going to eat lunch anyway. I love having interesting conversations like we're having here. It's a way to give, but I hear interesting stories and I meet interesting people. And they remember that because guess what, Darren? Even though I've been telling lawyers about this program for like 4 years, I don't know anybody else that's started it.
yeah. That's cool. And thank you for bringing that up because that's actually how we met initially back in, I think it was either 2020 or 2021 during the pandemic.
Probably.
I don't know if you had this program officially at that point or not, but I reached out and asked if we could do a virtual lunch.
Maybe you gave me the idea. Maybe I should credit it as
Maybe, I don't
Darren
know.
Wurz
I
gave
don't
me
know.
the idea for this. Yes. Well, but the teaching point would be is that you reached out. So here's another thing that's really cool about successful people is that um, they tend to like to share. And so if
Mm,
someone will, if you are a lawyer or any business person and you're thinking, well, I have some questions to answer and Darren's got more experience than I do. And, maybe Darren's got some answers. Darren and people like you, people like me, and many of our friends will do that. Now, what do we want? We want you to show up with a notebook. We want you to show up having done some homework yourself to be
yeah.
prepared. And we would love to hear the feedback and the success story after you go and do something. So don't show up empty handed. I get to talk to high schoolers, to retirees in this program. And I do it mainly for my own enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
Because I get to hear the stories and meet the people that I never would have run across in my life.
Absolutely. So, along that line, like I'm curious because you've done a lot of different things over the years. What are some like really scrappy, creative marketing approaches that have ended up working really well?
I think so A, being in the world of direct mail.
Mm,
Number two, I was one of the first, if not the first, to really, and I give credit to Kennedy, it's right, so start to write books that position me as the author. So the very first book, it looks very crude now, but the ultimate guide to car accident cases in Virginia. And back in the day, it was a little harder than it is today to go and write a book. But it's interesting because even lawyers will say like, "Oh wow, you're an author." Like, it's not that hard to do that. I don't think there's a lot of guys and gals who can help you get it done. But
yeah,
book writing, so now I've probably got 20 books. So I can go and pick from a pile and send it to you. So that's work. That makes you very memorable.
yeah.
I just trying to think of some of the other things. I love to speak. I love to get in front of people. We have you have seen our training center here at the office. So when we built the office out, we have a training center. Now, what do we do with that? Well, we run our own seminars, number one, but also we open it to the community. So you've got
Mm,
scouting group, referee group. We have the knitting ladies, and the book club. The book club comes here, and so they get to experience Benglass law. They don't have a case now, but they're like,
yeah,
oh, these guys aren't scary. So these are a lot of the grassroots things. The other thing I would say, Scrappy, is when you're doing a sponsorship, because we all get asked, sponsor the little league team, whatever.
yeah.
Think of the 9 or 10 things you can do to really leverage that. Most people, you send a check in, you get your name on a T-shirt, and nothing ever
Mm,
happens with it.
hmm.
Well, there's a lot. There's things you could do to embed yourself a little bit into that community, get the pictures. I always say, hey, and I want a chance to talk to the parents because I'm a big sportsmanship's in youth sports guy. Um, we're starting a scholarship program this fall. We have announced it semi, but it's not up on the website. But it's a referee and it's a scholarship for teenage referees and umpires who are going off to college, and it'll be an
Okay.
essay on leadership. I haven't seen anything. A lot of law firms have scholarships. That's my passion. As you probably know, for 51 years, I've refereed soccer teams, youth and adult and high school games. Um,
Yeah,
and so that's my passion. And so that's another point. It's like, take something you're already passionate about and ask yourself, how can
yeah.
I add value to the group? Not just send them a check. How can I add value? How can I promote them? Because when you
Mm,
promote somebody else, they're going to link back to you. They are just It's human nature to want to reciprocate when you have done something first. And I would tell people that haven't tried this, it's just intoxicatingly fun. I mean, because nobody else is doing it. And so, they think that you're something special, but they certainly appreciate that. And
right.
so few people, Darren, will go out of their way to go first.
Yeah, yeah. Great ideas. I'm reading a book right now called Influence, and one of the levers of influence is the law of reciprocation, and it's giving something without the expectation of any kind of return makes them 100 times more likely to be willing to do something for you. And oftentimes, people reciprocate more than
Yes.
what you did, right? It's a weird part of human nature. We don't want to feel like we owe somebody something.
That's right. But again, you stand out because there's so few people that will do it. It's always like, what's in it for me?
Yeah,
Well, what's in it for me is like the energy you get by
yeah,
reaching out, especially when it's something that's easy for you because of your coaching, right? You may see something that's drop dead easy that someone is just they're blind to, some
mm-hmm.
lawyer or law firm is blind to, and you're like, tweak this thing, and they're like, wow, never thought about it, and it was easy for you.
Right, right. So let's. I've got a few more questions to ask you here. You mentioned you have a book club that meets in your space, which is really cool. So, and we have a book club at the Lawyer Millionaire as well for law firm owners who want to join. So I always ask all my guests, what is a book that you're reading right now, or perhaps one of your favorites that has really changed your thinking?
Well, one of my favorites that changed my whole life was Atlas Shrugged. and understanding Iran. And, there people have differing views on Iran. Most people who have a negative view have never studied anything, never read anything, and can't quote anything, and won't come on my podcast to debate me about it. But her philosophy was, you have this one life to live. You have to be good first. Like, you have to be mentally, financially, emotionally healthy, or else you can't be at your best. You can't give your best to your clients. So that's what I've translated that into. And in the teachings we do at Great Legal Marketing, which is, you got to be good for yourself and your family first, and then you can be great. It will help you to be great for your clients. The other thing that I think that a mantra sort of that we live by here is, when Brian and I were thinking, why are we running a personal injury and disability firm? And what do most lawyers say? To get you all the money you deserve and kick the insurance company's butt and all that stuff. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool, but what we're really good at is helping you thrive. And so, if the owners thrive, and in particular, if the team that we bring in to work on Monday is thriving and feels like they're doing meaningful work with people they like, and it's financially good for them, then the clients will be well served. And so, we just had a deputy sheriff came in today. He was in the building, and it was amazing because he walks by the door, we give him a tour, right? It just said, hey, come on in. We got snacks. You've seen our snack setup, our kitchen setup. Like, now we have this huge fan, and I think every time he's in the building serving somebody for their, subpoena for medical records, he's going to drop by. All right. And so, but, getting back to our point, we wanted to do something to make his day better. That culture is embedded in our law firm. So, starting with Atlas Shrugged, marketing specific books. Story Brand was a great book for us. Like, how do you differentiate yourself in the market? Of course, all of Dan Kennedy's No BS series, including, I'll self-pitch, but the 4th edition of the No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs that he and I co-authored. Like, that was a fun project to do. And that book, the first edition of Time Management, changed my life, because I started to oh, you mean I don't have to answer the phone every time it rings? I can force you to have a pre-planned appointment so that we're both ready for the call. So things like that have been instrumental. And I'm a huge student of books and audiobooks, but I read a lot of real books, paper books.
Those are some great ones. Story Brand, I really enjoyed that book as well. And right now in the book club, we're reading Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, which is a classic, has become a classic.
Well, exactly right. And that's all about let's pause and take a time out and figure out what are we trying to do? When they hire a lawyer, they're hiring my expertise in strategic thinking about their case or their opportunity. They hire you, strategic thinking about finances and financial management and a plan. All right. Well, the more time that you can spend thinking about that stuff, that's what you like to do, right? And the less time you can spend doing stuff that anybody could do, right? Sending a bazillion emails or whatever. Then the better off Darren Wurz is going to be, the better off your clients are going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That really was instrumental for me in growing my business. I read that before I hired my first VA. That was the inspiration to hire a virtual assistant, and then just keep going from there, which was really, really cool. One last question for you, Ben, since we're a financial show here. I want to do our Money Mythbuster segment. So what's a myth about money that maybe you believed when you were younger, but now see differently?
That's a great question. So, I think I've always been a saver. And I have, I'm to that point in my career where if I didn't work another day, I would be fine. And I think that, the thing is, the myth for me is holding on to money and not being generous, not be willing to be generous. And what I have found is the more, and I have this whole sort of mental strategy, Darren, of taking money, cash, putting it in my wallet, and that is not my money anymore. It is for the people who serve me. And so I'm known, and then this is really cool. I'll tell you something cool, but I'm known for over tipping and making people's day great. And so, I thought you had to hoard it all. Now, here's what's really cool. I've got 9 kids, as you know, and I watch my kids, my young 20-somethings, tipping $20 cash on a $15 purchase. And I say, wow, that's really cool. And it's a little thing, in the whole big world.
Yeah.
But that server, like, again, what are we talking about? Standing out. Nobody else is treating that server and asking he or she, hey, what's your name? Oh, are you a student too? Like, tell me a little bit about your life. And my kids have learned to do that because they're modeling that. So that's cool. I was raised neither rich nor poor, but I've learned a lot about the power of being generous with your time and your money. And
that's great.
Making
that's a
money
great
is
reminder.
good. Making money and making a lot of money is good because there is power in how you can change the world.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Ben. Well, Ben, it's been great having you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's always fun to talk to you, Darren. And have
Absolutely.
a safe trip. Have a safe trip to Tennessee. I hope you don't run into any tornadoes.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. A big thank you to Ben Glass for joining us today and sharing his wisdom. You can learn more about Ben at his work. Check the show notes for the links to his books and his Lunch with Ben program. Here's my challenge to you. Start building your own Dream 100 list. Commit to reaching out personally to just one person this week. No automation, just real human touch. If you want to build true, lasting wealth through your law firm, it's not about chasing every shiny marketing trend. It's about building trust, being memorable, and creating meaningful relationships that turn into opportunity. And that's exactly the kind of long-term thinking we help law firm owners develop through business and financial planning. To learn more about how we help law firm owners grow their wealth and scale their firms, visit us at lawyermillionaire.com, where you can download the first chapter of my book, The Lawyer Millionaire, for free. And don't forget, you're invited to join our book club. It's a powerful way to learn, connect, and grow. Check the show notes for the link. Who is the Lawyer Millionaire? It's you, my friend. Own it and live it. I'm your host, Darren Wurz. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.